A 10-year-old Nazi discovers that his mother is hiding a Jewess in the house. We are in Germany, near the end of the Second World War, 1945. Jojo is a 10-year-old boy who lives alone with his mother Rosie. He spends his days in the company of his imaginary friend, a childish and buffoonish version of Adolf Hitler, the result of his blind admiration for the regime in which he was born and raised. In order to feel important, Jojo joins Junvolk, along with his friend Yorkie. Junvolk is led by Captain Klenzendorf and Fraulein Rahm. They basically teach the young men Nazi ideas and war techniques. Each of the young men is given a uniform and a knife. In addition, the kids are told that Jews are inferior to the Aryan race. They end the day by burning books, just as the Nazis did. Before going to bed, York asks Jojo if he's afraid of Jews. Jojo boldly replied that he will kill them instantly. Even though he doesn't know what they look like, Jojo fanatically thinks that if he brings a Jew to Hitler, he will be hired in his personal security service. The next day, the kids have to learn how to finish off an enemy. As a test, Jojo is forced to kill a rabbit. Jojo takes the rabbit in hand, but he refuses and tries to free it. He is then humiliated and made fun of with the nickname Jojo Rabbit. Jojo runs off into the woods and starts talking to his imaginary friend. Hitler encourages him by telling him to not pay too much attention to what people are saying, since he gets criticized a lot too. After a brief conversation with his imaginary friend, he comes back and throws a steel hand grenade 24 without permission to prove himself brave, causing it to bounce off of a tree and explode on his foot, causing several wounds on his face and leg. When the little boy recovers, he notices scars on his face, after which he feels ugly and his mother consoles him. His mother Rosie takes him back to Klenzendorf, strictly asking him to make Jojo feel important. The child is assigned smaller jobs, such as making propaganda and collecting scrap for the war. One day, at home alone, while searching for his mother, he finds after the wall a hiding place. Inside, Jojo found Elsa Kor, a Jewish teenager and old classmate of his sister, hiding in his own home. Jojo threatens to call the Gestapo, but Elsa reminds him that her mother would be killed for hiding her, and that if he would tell his mother about her, she would kill him. Jojo then consults with Hitler and decides to talk to Elsa. He took a helmet, shield, and knife and called the girl out. But he didn't expect that the girl would pop up from behind. She took his other knife and Jojo ran off to his room. After another conversation with his imaginary friend, he decided to make her feel safe so that she would let her guard down. In the evening, Rosie returned, and Jojo told her about some weird noises. His mother calms him down by saying that it could have just been rats. Throughout the evening, Jojo continued to watch over his mother until he went to bed. A little later, Rosie talked to Elsa and told her to be more careful because Jojo idealizes Hitler's ideas. Elsa tries to be strong, despite knowing that she could be caught any day. In the meantime, Jojo listened to the whole conversation and then went to sleep. The next day, the kids learned how to fight in the water. Jojo approached Klenzendorf to ask him what he should do if he found a Jew. The captain suggested calling the Gestapo, who would send the SS, which is a major paramilitary organization, and kill the Jews along with all those who helped them. But how to recognize a Jew? Klenzendorf said that someone should write a book about that. At this point, Jojo went home and proposed a deal to Elsa. Jojo decides to keep the secret on the condition that she reveals the Jewish secrets to him so that he can write a book for Klenzendorf. At first, Elsa said that Jews are human beings like everyone, but realizing that Jojo does not believe. The girl enjoys inventing stories about Jewish powers, which are not real at all. Elsa came up with the idea that Jews are food allergic, but Jojo realized that she just wanted to manipulate him into bringing her food. Although Rosie fed her with bread, Jojo said that there was no food for her and that she didn't deserve it, since she wasn't Aryan like him. At that point, Elsa immobilized him, saying that Jews were not inferior to other people and returned to the hiding place. When Rosie returned home, she set something on fire, after which she enjoyed some wine because the Nazis were losing the war. Jojo starts yelling like Hitler, and Rosie tells him to stop talking about politics when eating. The little boy notices that his mother doesn't eat the bread, and realizes that she is going to bring it to Elsa, so he eats it. Jojo thinks that if his father was there with them, he would have supported him. Unfortunately, he had passed away during the war. The little boy raised his tone, and Rosie put on her husband's jacket and drew a beard with ashes. She scolded him for raising his voice to his mother, and Jojo got scared. Using her husband's voice, she apologized for shouting and asked Jojo to take care of Rosie. Then Rosie turned on the music and started to dance with Jojo. The next day, Jojo asks Elsa to draw on a paper where the Jews live and other things about her. Elsa refuses to tell her personal life, but reveals to him that she was engaged to Nathan, who was fighting for the resistance. Then Elsa explained to him what love was, and that when he would find it, he would not be able to think about anything else. Elsa then showed the drawing to Jojo. It was a drawing of his head, because the Nazis' vision of the Jews was only in their own heads. Jojo gets the idea to write letters pretending to be Nathan. In the first letter, Jojo wrote that Nathan had found another woman. Hearing these words, Elsa, looking sad, returned to her hiding place. In the second letter, Jojo wrote to Elsa to not give up, because Jojo will help her and take care of her. Elsa thanks him and asks him to let her know if any further letters arrive. One day, Rosie and Jojo took a walk on the bank of a river. Rosie said that there used to be many couples singing and dancing on this bank, but now it is a desert area because the men are at war. Jojo continues to repress the idea of love, believing that there are more important things. Rosie told him that he shouldn't be thinking about politics and he should be having fun. Instead of war, everyone should dance as a sign of freedom. On their way home, Rosie and Jojo meet a truckload of warriors who have returned from war. The next day, Jojo was down in the dumps and called Elsa out. The girls started telling other stories, for example, that Jews lived in caves, slept like bats, and that they could read minds. Jojo also remembered that he had been taught in school that Jews were ugly. Then he remembered the scar on his face. Later, his imaginary friend scolded him for getting too close to Elsa and told him that his German brain should not be manipulated by her. Later, Rosie bonds even more with Elsa, beginning to see her as her own daughter. She confides in her, a desire to see her become an adult. The next day, Jojo went to Captain Klenzendorf to tell him the things he knew about the Jews. The captain and his colleagues laughed when they heard the stories Elsa had invented. Klenzendorf decides to share with him some designs he has made for his uniforms. Then, he gives Jojo a new task. He has to collect scrap metal for the war effort. While collecting metal from houses, Jojo noticed his mother handing out little anti-Nazi flyers. On the same day, Jojo met his old friend York, now a soldier. Jojo revealed to him that he had found a Jew, and Yorkie replied that he had seen one in the forest, but he didn't understand what the big deal was about, since he looked like a normal human being. Later that same day, Jojo brought Elsa some pencils to draw on his book. Once again, Jojo complains about his ugly face and that he will never kiss a girl. Elsa, in order to console him, proposes to give him a kiss, and Jojo reminds her that Nazis and Jews should not communicate, especially not kiss. Elsa told him that he wasn't a Nazi, just a lonely kid who wanted to be part of the crowd. Elsa then looked in the mirror and realized she was dirty, so Jojo let her take a bath. While Elsa was washing, Jojo felt butterflies in his stomach. Jojo was preparing lunch, and suddenly there was a knock on the door. Elsa ran to hide, and Jojo opened the door. He is confronted by Gestapo officers, led by Hermann Diertz. They were supposed to check the house for Jews. Immediately afterward, Captain Klenzendorf and Finkel entered the house to bring Jojo some pamphlets. The officers admired Jojo's room, but then Diertz asked where his mother was and why he didn't have his knife. Suddenly, Elsa showed up with the knife in her hand, pretending to be Jojo's sister. The Gestapo began to check Jojo's sister's room, Inga, who passed away. Then, Diertz asked Elsa for her papers. Elsa took Inga's ID and gave it to Klenzendorf. The captain asked her for her date of birth, and apparently, Elsa got it right. When everything seemed resolved, Diertz noticed Jojo's book about Jews. Elsa claimed to have written it, and Klenzendorf threw a glance at Jojo, understanding the situation. The Gestapo began to laugh as they looked at the drawings in the book. Finding nothing out of the ordinary, the Gestapo left. Later, Elsa realized that she had gotten the date wrong, and Klenzendorf had helped them. Despite this, Elsa is afraid that the Gestapo will return and kill her. Jojo proposes to talk to his mother and tell her that they are now friends. Later, Jojo argued with his imaginary friend again. That same day, Jojo went out to get food, and as he walked, he noticed the shoes of his mother. Then he saw Rosie hanging in the public square. He hugged her crying and stayed there for hours watching her. Devastated, he returned home and tried to stab Elsa with the knife. He made a small scratch, but the girl managed to stop him. Jojo fell on the floor and continued to cry, after which Elsa approached him and comforted him. Later in the evening, Elsa and Jojo realized that they only had one another, and the two get even closer. After a while, Jojo goes outside without his Nazi uniform to look for food. He notices that the town has turned into ruin and that there is no longer plenty of food. While eating the puree, he watches Hitler eating in abundance. In the following days, Jojo spends all his time with Elsa and continues to write letters pretending to be Nathan. As he walks through the city, the war is coming to an end. The Americans and Soviets are now at the gates of the city. Jojo meets York, who informs him of Hitler's suicide. Jojo reveals to him that he has a Jewess in the house, but Yorkie told him to stop worrying, since he had met the Russians and they were even worse. Fraulein Rahm, who is still fighting for Hitler by arming and sacrificing children, gives Jojo a German uniform jacket before being killed by an explosion. Then Jojo watched the children, women, and the elderly fight senselessly. Klenzendorf and Finkel, who turned out to be homosexuals, also went out in the open, wearing makeup and their own uniforms. Russian and American soldiers captured the Germans, including Jojo and Klenzendorf. Klenzendorf saves the child's life by stripping him of his German soldier's jacket in a moment of distraction from the Allied soldiers, and then tells him to leave, treating him as a Jew. Shortly thereafter, Klenzendorf is executed along with other Germans. Walking home, Jojo encounters Yorkie, fortunately still alive. Yorkie said that now Elsa could be free, and Jojo suddenly remembered something. Arriving home, Jojo told Elsa that the Nazis had won, fearing that she would leave him if she knew she was free. Then, looking back at the book, he wrote another letter, in which he came up with a plan to help her escape. Soon after, Elsa came out and said that Nathan had died of tuberculosis. Jojo, embarrassed, said he loved her and would help her escape anyway. In his room, the imaginary friend tried to manipulate him, but Jojo, tired of his chatter, threw him out of the window. Then he prepared to go outside with Elsa. In the meantime, a car with Americans drove by, and Elsa realized that the Nazis had lost the war and slapped Jojo. Wondering what to do next, Elsa and Jojo began to dance for freedom. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then discover the adventure of the Bubble Boy to stop the marriage of the girl of his dreams.